China.
下面比赛开始。
Now the game begins.
双方选手争夺开球选择权。预备。3、2、1，开始。戴勇获得开球选择权。 哈尔滨欧斯重开球。10 seconds， 延时。10 seconds。
顺势的办法都得
我反观戴勇这边啊，我觉得他已经想好，如果1号脚趾怎么样，我们现在就可以简单的看看1号脚趾，往后拉一点也好，往前推一点也好，7啊，或者是6号，如果中带有的话，它是有各种各样的就是衔接的啊，他不怕你把前面那个球脚趾，你像这样子的球，你打起来就会比较放松，在你整个的衔接过程中多找这种大脚位范围的球啊，当然了，很多球确实需要你细，那你怎么样啊把位走到线上，走到面上啊，不要在大比赛中去考验自己的这个细腻程度，你可以去检验，每一次奔着一个点叫啊，但是要让它有这个容错区，你叫到了你想要的点，你不就有信心了吗？啊，你信心是你自己的，对吧？不是客观考验给你的。
戴勇看到欧思纯这样的表现，其实在心里边应该也会对本场比赛的一个战术方向 应该做一些自己的规划啊，是不是在适当的这个局面下，让对手先打，对吧？让他来充当开路先锋，让他来充当这个清道夫，对吧？
起码要第一个暂停之前吧，我觉得戴勇不太会改变，还是要先确立领先优势。双方来说都是这样。
有机会没放高，精力有些涣散。
4点，这个拉开
第6局戴勇
有可能成为第一阶段比分的一个分水岭。
台球杆研发生产30年，中山大学联合技术研发中式发球国际大师赛指定用杆，相信多数人的选择 ，LP 让梦想更近。
第7局戴勇开球。
这就是8球，每个人的想法都不一样。似乎不是他想要的角度，小了一点之后呢，这个5号的第一杆就要非常准确了啊，就是说控制的要准确了。要不要往14上 K？
10 seconds， 延时。
推 实求其次啊，选择医院。其实他刚开始第一下瞄的就是奔着1号推过来，想了半天，他这个思考在想，我是叫1怎么打？如果说我横向叫2怎么打？反向叫1怎么打？各种线路，最有把握的，最能控制的。那这种思考是有效思考。
其实咱们俩这个段位呢，就应该这样思考。咱们做不到，比如说火箭、Dai Yong这种非常快速、系统的思考，就是这种条件语句的思考。如果这样，如果那样。
4, 3。
主要是咱们打的球形也不足以。
这个真是太多。基本上你选择的是应该不应该在2和14之间叫11叫1号左右。我直面的面往上拉的，如果走的偏左的话，也是这么做的，就让它用上也行。现在怎么了？我们要准了。这边。因为有一点相对的角度，我这么说还是走反了一点。为什么话能问我呢？我刚才问了什么呀？
And there it is. You're looking at the American-made rocket and spacecraft that will return American astronauts to the International Space Station from American soil for the first time since the retirement of the space shuttle last flown nearly 9 years ago. Today, we're giving it another shot with our partners at SpaceX. Wednesday's first attempt was postponed due to that wild weather. But if all goes well today, we will mark a new first in NASA's storied history and usher in the commercial crew era of American spaceflight.
At 3:32 Eastern Time this afternoon, NASA astronauts Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken are expected to lift off from Pad 39A aboard SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft atop a Falcon 9 rocket. If the weather cooperates, today's attempt will mark SpaceX's first ever flight with crew and the beginning of
3 million people tuning in for this historic launch. And so, for me personally, I just want to wish Bob and Doug the best of luck. This will be my own first time watching humans lift off to space from the United States, and it's just going to be a super emotional moment. For that, Marie, back to you at Kennedy for these last minutes before launch.
All right, thanks to Hira. And Leland, we got 23 minutes and some change to go. What do you think Bob and Doug are feeling right now?
I think, they're very calm, cool, and collected as test pilots, but I think they're thinking about what are the steps they have to take if a malfunction or something happens. So the nominal stuff is all kind of automated, but if something happens where they have to intervene with those touch screens, that's what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm. And we're just inside 23 minutes now. So on Wednesday, we were 5 minutes further in the countdown when we heard that call to scrub, and the weather was still very touch and go at this point on Wednesday. But today, it at least for right now, I don't want to jinx it. I'm afraid to even say it out loud, but it looks better today.
Yeah, and it feels like I'm feeling it a lot more than I did on Wednesday. Right. And, speaking of Bob and Doug and them being really calm and cool and collected, haven't had the opportunity to be in meetings with them and to watch them train. I have to say, and to all of my friends who work with them every single day, the feedback is always just what great people they are.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And just how not just bright and sharp they are, but just good people.
Right.
And around the office, we often refer to them as the dads.
The dads?
They're the dads. They're dads. They are dads, and we've met their families. And when you see people on that very personal level, it starts to mean so much. They are a part of our team. They're not a customer. They're our team. They're not a payload. They're our team. They're a family. And so we're just so excited to see the dads up there today.
Yeah. Go dads.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go send it over to Gary for an update from Houston. Gary?
就差这么一个。
Hey Marie, the space station team here is focused. All eyes are on the system checks that are happening across the board, and we're listening in as we close in on launch, and I can tell you that things are looking very good. Chris Cassidy will be watching from the International Space Station, right now flying over the Pacific Ocean and heading to cross right over the launch pad. We might even get some good views from the station. Hope to be capturing those. We'll have the launch view and the big screen up front, and everyone's excited to see our 2 crew members on their way to the International Space Station. But before we get to it, I just want to pass on good luck from the entire flight operations community here in Houston. It's always exciting to be doing something wholly new and history-making with station operations, and we can't wait to see our team members Bob and Doug in low Earth orbit and heading to the International Space Station. That's it from us here in Mission Control Houston. I'll send it back over to the team in Hawthorne for the latest happening there. John.
T-minus 20 minutes, 30 seconds. We're continuing the countdown. Everything is still looking good for launch of Falcon 9 and Dragon. 22 minutes, 45 seconds after the hour.
Stage
right
2
now on the
RP1
right-hand
is
side,
complete.
you can see a large white cloud coming off of the strongback. That is normal. As we get ready to load the second stage with liquid oxygen, we have to chill in the plumbing lines going up that strongback. And so as we relieve pressure, the moist, humid Florida air condenses around it, and that gives you the cloud. So that tells us that things are actually on schedule. We did begin propellant load at T-minus 35 minutes. Fuel loading on the second stage, I believe we just heard the call out that it is complete. First stage fuel load is continuing, and right now that's a little more than, that's about 60% of the way full. So things are looking good. Second stage is getting ready to begin the liquid oxygen loading. After they finish chilling in the lines that you see on the monitor, they'll begin the load at T-minus 16 minutes and 30 seconds. The range right now is go, ready to support. Weather continues to be go. As we inch our way closer, we're keeping our fingers crossed. We're waiting to hear if anybody calls out an issue, but for the moment, as you can see on the screen, it looks good. Now, on the Dragon side, the Dragon mission director and the team there are reporting no issues. They've done their communications checkouts. The crew access arm, as you can see, is
欧思川心想，哎呀，打到这个阶段，有个硬茬，真是够硬的。他在这一届总决赛第一次打这个桌子，而我已经在这个桌子打过了。那现在的比分就是这个样子。我们之前在 TV1也见过欧思川打吧，他上过。但有没有发现，就这一场比赛，欧思纯的表情也好，肢体语言也好，比前面要丰富了一些。说白了就是他不那么平静啊，也没办法，事实就把他逼成了这个样子。
1个多小时之前刚打了一场鏖战，
对，1
个小时之后又这个
继续熬，
对。
对手其实也是刚打过一场，
对，
而且也是打满，或者说几乎打满。
但不太一样的是，戴勇这边的打满是，他始终在主打，他始终在进攻，始终在上手，可以说是刚练完球然后打比赛，很累死啊，这种感觉。
10号没叫到，但是好像12上面还可以调，横台14，那14往下叫确实需要，首先需要14的角度就好，另外也是需要功力。从左边过来90还传不了。想叫右边中带的5号有点捣乱，比较尴尬的一棒球。再看90能不能传。
Endeavor Houston calling via hardline for a final voice check. Do you have us now?
Houston, Dragon on the big loop. That was an improvement, but it's still completely unreadable.
And Endeavor, Houston on Dragon to ground 1, we're still hearing you 555. Understand it was slightly improved. Were you able to read me at all, or is it unuseful?
Yeah, it was a slight improvement, but it's still unintelligible, almost every word. There was maybe one word that you could have sort of figured out, but that was about it.
Okay, thank you for the feedback. First time, obviously, and we think we're running into some interference issues, but we'll continue to take a look.
We copy, thanks.
Seconds.
右上角像是透了。1号球稍微挡多一点，就算不挡它，但也不会轻易的选择进攻。不必要。运气球可是没有到头啊，这个东西，造成时速就不影响，让它没挡住。看来能会推动住。选择一杆反包。避开 角度。看一下右边中带，可以过的话，轻推即可。或者说不太宽敞。应该还是有下去吧，而且还比较宽敞。从右边中带。
8局阿尔滨欧斯神胜，比分3-5。10秒。
效果。
戴勇呢也考虑过，比如说14打中带，横一空把7撞走这样的这种计划啊。
但是这种打法，首先进中带角度特别大，不太好控制。
另外角度到底合不合适啊，都是问题。最终选择了一个。
This is Mission Control Houston. If you're tuning in to our coverage, you're getting a live look at the International Space Station Flight Control Room. You're hearing a lot of communications from the International Space Station, both from the space station side over space to ground, NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, International Space Station commander, setting up for the hatch opening. You can see a series of cameras scattered around, ready to capture the best views of Bob and Doug coming through that hatch. We did get confirmation just shortly that we did have good pressurization of the vestibule. It'll be about 10 minutes to perform a series of leak checks. Again, that pressure needs to stabilize. The thermal conditions make it swing just a little bit, so just waiting for that to stabilize before those leak checks are finalized. That underway within the next 10 minutes. We do have communications settled in the hardline connection between International Space Station and Dragon. You can see from the inside of Dragon now, the crew doffed or took off their suits, just getting a few things packed up before they eventually open up the hatch after that pressurization is equalized between Space Station and Dragon.
9局戴永胜，比分6-3，官方暂停使用爱帽没得消息。
Endeavor, it's Houston calling for a voice check over the big loop. We've retransitioned back to RF, so back to RF. How do you hear us?
中式台球，俗称黑八，是一项原创于中国的运动，在乔氏的推动下，已走进全球64个国家。大家好，我喜欢乔氏中式台球，风靡全球的中国运动。他是我的眼，带我看西方的一切。首先是
The Dragon on the Houston, Dragon, a big loop. Was that comp check for us?
Yeah, affirmative, Endeavor, it's Houston. We transitioned back to RF because we still had the interference over hardline. So we're back on RF now and just want to make sure we had you.
Got you loud and clear on RF.
Loud and clear as well. We're just going to leave it here for now. Thank you.
上去好球手，常来上面，春夏秋冬。
在澳洲，有一种葡萄酒一直跟随外交官一起传递澳洲文化底蕴，被当作澳洲文典。
Here's a live look inside the crew Dragon. You're seeing Bob Benkin and Doug Hurley just preparing the inside of Dragon. They have doffed or taken off their suits. The pressurization between space station and Dragon is complete. They just need to perform some leak checks, make sure that pressure is stable before they actually open the hatch. Teams working together on the ground, International Space Station Flight Control Room and the Flight Control Room in Hawthorne to get that big loop communication configured so everyone can hear each other. Through this process, figured out a workaround using RF connection.
生产30年，中山大学联合技术研发中式发球国际大师赛指定用杆，相信多数人的选择 ，LP 让梦想更进一步。
它是我的眼，带我看球房的一切。手机实时查账，开台状态一目了然，明细清单想查就查，可疑操作及时推送。手机管球房就选优管家，淘宝搜索优泽汽车系统。
对于欧斯特芬来说啊，第一阶段3-6这个比分，自己一定是不满意的。只不过是说还能够绷得住啊。在第二阶段，如果不能够把这个比分保持在3-5局或者更少这个范围，第三阶段就非常难打了。所以第二阶段对欧斯特芬来说也已经是生死阶段了。
Süchtig wie Kokain, könnte stundenlang an dir ziehen. Deine Lippen die Medizin, dieses Mädchen aus Gestehen. Du machst süchtig wie Kokain, könnte stundenlang an dir ziehen. Deine Lippen die Medizin. Du bist nicht für eine Nacht, nein, du bist für ewig. Seitdem ich dich kenne, dreht sich meine Welt wie Tetris. Nichts ist dir ähnlich, wär nicht vergeblich. Alle, die's versuchen, weil die Wege scheitern kläglich. Bitte red nicht, meine Seele schwarz und scheiß. Mon Ami, für dich verteile ich mies. Adrenalin, bin ich bei dir, Baby. Wenn die Nacht einschlägt, denkst du mich zu, lass mich niemals frieren, mon ami. Wenn die Zeit stillsteht, bist du bei mir, lass mich niemals frieren, mon ami. Du machst süchtig wie Kokain, könnte stundenlang an dir ziehen. Deine Lippen, die Medizin, dieses Mädchen aus Gestehen. Du machst süchtig wie Kokain, könnte stundenlang an dir ziehen. Deine Lippen, die Medizin, dieses Mädchen aus Gestehen. Du bist mein Gegengift, nichts ist vergleichbar mit dir, Baby. Ich spüre dich, zündest meine Flamme, denn du bist einfach nur heiß. Gib mir deine Hand und ich geb dir mein Leben als Beweis. Aroy Sabrine, Jasmine, The Mandin, Kurnuktan Roy Bandin, Setiye, Mal Bukus Serhana, Nukten Droyas, Meni mit dir runter. Wenn die Nacht einschlägt, denkst du mich zu, lass mich niemals frieren, mon ami. Wenn die Zeit stillsteht, bist du bei mir, lass mich niemals frieren, mon ami. Du machst süchtig wie Kokain, könnte stundenlang an dir ziehen. Deine Lippen, die Medizin, dieses Mädchen aus Gestehen. Du machst süchtig wie Kokain, könnte stundenlang an dir ziehen. Deine Lippen, die Medizin, dieses Mädchen aus Gestehen. Könnte stundenlang an dir ziehen. Die Medizin, dieses Mädchen aus Gestehen. Wie Kokain, könnte stundenlang an dir ziehen. Deine Lippen, die Medizin, dieses Mädchen aus Gestehen.
只在这里用上帝视角冷静下来看，也许是因为我在这个视角看习惯了，围着台子转不会生气。
调回来，
还是有问题，角度大。非常不好留的一个位置。
This is Mission Control, Houston. If you're just joining us, you're getting a look inside the Crew Dragon. That was Bob Bankett seated on the right side, the pilot seat, or the Joint Operations Mission Commander seat for Demo 2. He and Doug Hurley, the commander of the spacecraft, just preparing the inside, putting away some trash. They just doffed their suits, and right now just waiting for the pressure to equalize between the International Space Station and Bob and Doug. Just two hatches, really, separating them from the inside of the orbiting complex. Aboard International Space Station, Commander Chris Cassidy has been outfitting Node 2. It's the first node. Once you cross over some of the hatchways, there it is. You can see some of the cameras positioned around to capture the crew coming in to the International Space Station. Much of that work completed at this point.
你要立竿尾打这个地带，但是进度就不保证。
这样的很快的出反应，出反应。
Really, at this point, just waiting for good leak checks between Station and Dragon.
这个如果是在超分的时候，就它领先比较多的时候，
我这个那就很好打对。所以说，在这儿我想说一句话：所有说第一杆不能立起杆尾打的教练都是耍流氓。大家记住这话：立起杆尾打，第一杆是有意义的，是有它特殊意义的。告诉你，不能立杆尾打，第一杆打，要么他耍流氓，不告诉你真话，要么他自己也不会。
for Chris and the ISS experience.
咱们可以拿这个作为话题，一会儿就在，反正2场比赛嘛，咱们就在这2场比赛中找，在那种，找那种在网上我们在短视频上看到的某些，觉得自己能讲球了啊，就出来开始一个一个拍小视频的。
Head on 3.
我们用一个一个的例子攻破他们这一个一个的不靠谱的这说法，真的很。
Hey Chris, we're not seeing good connection between the SSC-25 and the camera. We're coming up on a handover, but they're looking for a reboot of SSC-25.
Reboot 25, copy. SpaceX Dragon to ground for inventory.
这构图，
I
到底
am
是
here
够到
and ready to copy.
黄金比例啊，0.618那个位置，你这数听着都难受啊。9宫格构图，日本人可能叫1/3。
Okay, Anna, we'll start with location 9 from bag 203. Remove 3 water bottles.
平衡焦点对时就完了。
Copy. 3 bottles removed from bag 203.
你可以灵活的掌握，你自己感觉这种方向性强不强？
Good read back from location 10. We removed bottles from each of bag 207, 20, so 6 water bottles in total.
对，他有突破，他人家有自己的东西。
Dragon 36, you were pretty broken on that call, but I think I copied 3 bottles from each bag 207 and 208. Is that correct?
你看这杆球，他为什么不选择大方的去绕？因为他觉得刚开始
That is a good read back, Anna.
一横就是这位置，我不用再去思考到底我用多低啊，用多大劲，我只知道我用最低。
For location 11, 1 dinner from bag 317, 1 breakfast from bag 315, and 1 lunch from bag 316.
There
are several.
Copy 1 dinner from 317, 1 breakfast from 315, and 1 lunch from 316.
在现实中，
Everything that was taken has been sent down. That's a good read back. And location 12, 1 dinner from bag 321, 1 breakfast from bag 319, and 1 lunch from bag 320.
I copy 1 dinner from 321, 1 breakfast from 319, 1 lunch from 310, and am I correct to conclude all of this includes your consumption from the lunch that you just completed?
That's correct, Anna. We've finished eating, and the lunch we just completed is a good, complete list of what I've read down to you so far. The only thing we have remaining is the flush of the waste system here, and we'll do that with a water bottle and report when we do that a little bit later.
Copy. That sounds like a perfect plan. Thank you so much.
在不同的事儿上，对，举个例子，现在白球如果去打
Okay, with that, that's the extent of our inventory. All else is per the packing plan.
Copy all else from per the packing plan.
哎，看动力。
This is Mission Control Houston. You've seen Chris Cassidy, International Space Station Commander, do much of the setup, but he does have 2 crew members on board, both Russian cosmonauts. Next to him right now is Ivan Wagner. Rookie space flyer that was on the same Soyuz spacecraft that Chris Cassidy launched on from the Baikonur Cosmodrome just a little more than a month ago. Also on board is Russian cosmonaut Anatoly Ivanishin.
不同的圈子，这个词用的也不一样。对 ，double 我们就是联机的意思，但是斯诺克圈 double 是翻带的意思，对吧？亨德利也这么说，好多斯诺克的解说都这么说。 啊，如果大家看英文原声啊，看 BBC 的那种，他们就这么来表达。touching ball 是吧？贴球，但是美式2个球相贴也叫 frozen， 我们就把它结合了，贴库叫 frozen， 2个球贴在一起，我们叫 touching ball。所以说，中式是一个融合的项目。 来，现在他要去磨这个3进右下角，对吧？用球来说话，用球做参照物，右塞就是顺塞。有的时候你要用库做参照物的时候，那你就用库来说话。当然了，真拿语言去说啊，顺逆也好，正反也好，其实都无法表达具体的意思，因为这是语言特点决定的。那英语就没有这个方面，对吧？现在3号的右塞在外线，多翻译的意思，就现在带语加的，那本质就是内的意思。那库呢，加速的库，它是反义词，左边的加左塞，不能说左边大加左塞，斜着打。球往偏下的方向，这中间没有这些球啊，就现在带你的出杆方向，中间没这些球，加这种赛，这叫 running， 就是跑球，球跑得更快一些。像现在刚才他打的这颗球，然后白球向左上走，想让白球再往上，这个叫 running。如果是反过来的叫 reverse， 这个 reverse 就是反向的意思。那就他用这4个词内外跑反来分别表示了对球和对库的这种顺反赛，人家就不吵这架，所以大家以后
它是以最后打完之后的结果来呈现。
哎，对，这库的是用这个效果呈现，而这个球的呢，就真的是里外，就很简单，内侧还是外侧？对，这样的话就是2个标准，2个词儿，对吧？红色的、绿色的，
This is Mission Control Houston. We are coming up on almost 2 hours since the Crew Dragon made contact and was captured by at the International Space Station's forward international docking adapter. That happened at 9:16 a.m. Central, 10:16 a.m. Eastern. Still working through some of those milestones, equalizing the pressure between Dragon and International Space Station, verifying some of the communications, and of course you see Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley inside, continuing to prepare the inside of their vessel before they make their way inside the orbiting complex.
不吹不黑，我要是有一个1号在这儿，我可希望对手防我一杆了，防我一杆你基本就输了。你要是静台，我真是没办法。稳定发挥的话，应该可以看很具体。又出了一个很小，就是那个 running English。防杠精的，你看尽量留，加上一点点左塞，对于库来讲的 reverse， 这样既减速，又可以让这个位置更偏现在画面。
Space
SpaceX Dragon on Dragon to ground. Mind taking the cameras down for just a few minutes here?
We will put that in work and let you know when it's done. We will put that in work.
来将11号同弹，看他是不是这样做啊？也就是右塞推，好的。常规的2库向左下角。但其实这个角度推1库也很好。
This is Mission Control Houston. You heard the call from Bob Benkin, Joint Operations Mission Commander of the Demo 2 mission, taking down some of those video feeds. We're still waiting for some of those milestones to pass before actually opening the hatch. The Dragon crew continuing to get themselves ready before opening the hatch. Chris Cassidy on the other side, just preparing some of the camera views, making sure everything's set there, done even a little bit ahead of time. We do have confirmation that there is a good data connection path between Dragon and the International Space Station. Some of those checks underway next. Coming up on 2 hours since docking at 9:16 a.m. Central, 10:16 a.m. Eastern.
Space Station on 3, the SSC's been rebooted. Any success?
作为一个从半路出出生的。
Hey Chris, we see good connection between the SSC and the camera, and we're just performing the calibration now. We'll start recording shortly. Thanks for your help.
借这个机会，
No problem. Happy to help.
给大家介绍一下咱们这次总决赛。
Dragon SpaceX, we have gone exterior with the cameras. We have gone exterior with the cameras.
大家现在在画面上看到的上字幕的这个是6号机。
Dragon copy, thanks.
左侧，就是裁判的左侧了，可以说是。高度呢是在这个体育馆看台上，又高又远的一个位置。而现在这个是无人值守的4号机，就是说在2个逻辑之间，现在是左侧的2号位置，与之对称的右边的是3号，而大部分的时间所停留的呢，就是大家最熟悉的1号机，也就是这里。等一会儿回慢镜的时候，很有可能会用到的就是上帝视角5号机来了。那么有一个月轴的高倍高速是7号机，还有整个体育馆的大全8号机。这是我们总决赛常用的一个配置，除了7号机啊，7号机以前也用过手持。央视播的时候主要是用一个手持，那这次我们7号机呢用的就是一个月轴的高速。所谓月轴啊，就是不是从这个球堆往开球区那边拍，而是那边反过来的。一般比如说2个人对话握肩镜头，你不能拨到这2个人轴线的另外一边去，通常不会这样，这种月轴。咱们这轴呢，你可以理解为那2中带。连线。7号机可能在一个局部当中把这个球与球关系阐述的非常好，而且高速呢就能让你看到一些发生的很快的事情，比如说低杆的延时，往后转，往后慢慢加速，这个过程。
而且因为我们之前现在评论的这个是这个机位啊，包括这个画面。多个镜头全在呈现我们在一个显示器当中。对，有的时候在评论的时候也是在7号机会阐述更清楚什么叫做这个刹车球啊，是在撞完直直打完球之后，你担心有没有起跳啊？是的，达到这个第1颗球，我给的特别清楚，
达到第1颗整个球队会中，所以会让白球往后跳，并且呢，这前转当然是选手打转的。然后落地之后，当当当当，并且向前减速，停在球台中间。大家总是看到楚明杰的开球，非常典型的这个效果，就是这样子的。
This is Mission Control Houston. Again, you're getting a look at the inside of the International Space Station. That's NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, commander of Expedition 63. Continuing to get some of those cameras configured for hatch opening. Many milestones already passed after docking at 9:16 a.m. Central, almost 2 hours ago at this point. At the time of docking, the International Space Station was on Russian thrusters. After contact and capture was moved over to control moment gyro, stabilization and attitude control, now back to its standard configuration of thrusters and control moment gyros. After an umbilical connecting Dragon to the International Space Station was established, we did get confirmation of good power flowing from the International Space Station to Dragon. Dragon now relying on station power. We did get confirmation of good data transmission, and of course the teams here on the ground, both here in Houston and in Hawthorne, troubleshooting some of the communication to make sure that is ready to go prior to hatch opening. Pressurization between International Space Station and Dragon brought up to the same pressure, 14.7, the same we would find here on Earth. Leak checks are next to confirm the pressure is stabilized between the two vehicles. You see the hatch just on the other side of Chris Cassidy there. That's the hatch to the pressurized mating adapter. There's two more hatches once you go down that hatchway. One is to the international docking adapter, and the other is the hatch of Dragon itself.
牵制你，
多省心。你用5把3号 K 出来的时候，万一再有些遮挡
10 seconds， 延时。
好，说回来，10号位置再往下一点点，估计也会接的。这么多好字，这种都是差一点点就会影响你最后的决定。没有到位，这种线很难控制。6号整个还是挺实的。有人说某个球能放慢电， 有人说哪个翘粉我还是那话，都是说的我。静电本身，这个排球圈子里面的这个静电根本不是静电，而是有粉尘，主要是翘粉粘在了球上。那么球与球撞击的时候，正好撞到那个翘粉印儿的位置，增加了摩擦，还让球就是投掷效应以及齿轮效应。
Dragon with a couple of questions.
那么静电只是让粉粘在球上的其中一个。
Hey Anna, we show about an hour and 11 minutes since we started drying the suits, just to let you know that. And then the other thing is we can put 4.400 section 2 in work if you think we have some time before we get the hatch open.
We copy. You are go to stop drying your suit and turn off that suit fan at this time. Let me get you words on that waste system flush.
We'll shut the suit fan off now.
那就是粘上的，你可以自己做实验，拿翘粉在球上。
In Dragon SpaceX, we are about a half hour prior to hatch open, so you are go to do that waste system flush if that sounds good to you at this time.
Okay, we may give it a few minutes. If it's going to be 30 minutes until hatch opening, we may want to use it just one more time. So yeah, we may hold off for another 10 minutes or so. But let us know if anything changes. Otherwise, we'll do it then.
Totally reasonable. Sounds like a good plan. Thanks.
这个位置就相当好，因为时速的位置偏。
And Dragon Houston on Dragon 2 ground, we're still working comm issues. We're going to take down the big loop now. We'll maintain you on Dragon to ground. We'll call you when we have hardline back.
Stand by 1 second. Chris.
Dragon copies, Houston, thanks. Dragon copies, Houston, thanks.
Go ahead, Chris. Sorry, I was talking to Dragon.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, I'm just looking ahead at the PAO event, and I know it says video through the node 2 and space to ground 2 up and down. It would only take me about 1 minute to change back over to the encoder and go do comm the normal way that we do PAO events, if that's something that's preferred. It really is super fast, and I can get you that way and that config real quick if you need it.
Later. Copy, Chris. Yeah, copy. Thanks for that. We'll offer it up, and I'll let you know if we want to go that way.
Obviously not urgent or important, just throwing it out there.
10秒。
下一个话题，克拉克，
扫一下。
看下一个话题，克拉克。克拉克呢是漫画，美国漫画《超人》里面的克拉克·肯特，他女朋友罗伊斯莱。对，咱俩看的是同一个美剧，好多年前了，就是那个克拉克也是，那个游戏叫《怒》，2个人，1P 2P，1P。对，1P 叫拉尔夫，2P 叫克拉克。后来这2个人物进了一个格斗游戏，就那个。
5 4
还等着你呢。
不是，关键有关键球，我先停下来，
给我一暗示，还等着下集呢。
这个克拉克呀，克拉克当然是一个音译了，这音译翻译成什么就罢了。有人不翻译成克拉克的时候。
We just wanted to clarify from your last comments. We show it as being in the standard config, whereby you're going to be coming down over the camcorder HD mic, and we'll be going up over space to ground 2, and that's what we're intending. Did you maybe just, we might have missed your intent in your previous remarks. Is that what you had in mind?
No, I had, like we do all other PAO events, we talk, we hold a handheld microphone that is going through the clip-on mic transmitter to the clip-on through the camera, and then the audio comes down through the encoder. That's how we typically do PAO events. So I can go back to that config if you need, super fast, or if you want to do it this way where we're talking on Space Ground 2, that's fine too. I don't care. Just throwing it out there because it's different than we normally do PAO events.
并不是一定是把14扫进这样的一个位置，他把14勾进右上角里面，也可以叫，好吧？就当然它是
Just to be clear, well, the configure now is the Node 2 camera is not connected to the encoder, as you probably know. So all I would do is just plug the cable back into the encoder and switch back over to the nominal Node 2 camcorder.
也就习惯了，我也不反对，我只是告诉大家这个词原本的意思。那个 co 是 caution， 就是 cushion， 对，就是 cushion 的另一个词。
And Chris, that is clear. The camera needs to be plugged into the encoder. So what you're saying is what we need. We don't know where it got swapped up, but the camera should definitely be plugged into the encoder, and audio is coming down via that encoder.
是翻译成不同的词而已。再扩展一下，还有个词叫塔马孔，就是球和球二次撞击。
We'll just use it on the, I guess what I was thinking is going back to one without a battery and not being dependent on the battery and going back over to the nominal cable, which includes power. I just get a little leery about relying on these batteries.
Copy. We have Photo TV online, so we're talking to them on the phone right now. Stand by one.
就这几个护边球，说白了，他太想严谨的打了，当然这没毛病。可你老这么去打，自己比分落后，对方是巴不得的。终于有所突破啊！这一杆3号就是要突破，因为8挡住了7号左边中带的至少一部分吧。如果完全没挡，可以
microphone and the free float camera both connected to the encoder. Does that clear it up?
都已经到这儿了，就应该打
这个位置要打。
Copy all. You want the free float camera, and we'll use the handheld microphone through the ATU. Copy all. No problem. I think I'm not communicating. No pun intended. But I think we're in a good config now, and I won't swap over to the nominal Node 2 camera.
5号偏直，有一点点向上。向下
还是调到2球中间？
怀疑了一下，还真是向下。
Down by Chris. Down by Chris.
打两边都可以。现在打两边都可以，因为你打6的话有一点点后斯诺，有点难受。你打7，然后打6弹一库，也没毛病。
12局阿尔滨欧斯城市比分5-7。
Station East 03, Chris. If you're still there, we think we still have it backwards. So I see you look. Yeah, I see it in the video now. So we still have PAO on the line. Sorry for the confusion, but I think this much is clear. This morning, we moved cameras. We swapped the cameras that were connected to the encoder. What we want now, we're getting video from the free float camera through the encoder, so that's good. We're seeing it right now. What we need, just relaying here, is your lapel mic. That has to go through that new free float camera, so that your mic connects to the free float camera, and then that audio comes down through the encoder. Does that make sense?
That's the config it's in right now, and that's all perfect. The only benefit, I guess, I didn't initially make it clear is if I switch back to the normal cable and the normal camera, we're not dependent on a battery power on the camera. I just am worried that throughout this whole event, we're gonna all of a sudden the battery's gonna go out. I go back to the normal.
SpaceX Dragon on Dragon to ground. Our report complete with 4.012.
Benefit to this free flow camera is
complete with 4.012.
All the way into the Dragon, which I don't think we could do with the other cable. So what my thought was, after we do all of the ingress stuff and we switch gears to the PAO ceremony when we're standing right in front of the hatch, we could have actual power to the camera. But it's really no big deal. What I'll do is I have got a couple batteries on standby, and I'll just make sure there's a fresh battery right before we start the PAO thing.
Okay, Chris, sorry it took so long, but I'm 100% with you, and copy 100% on the battery concern. The word we're getting here is we would like to run it in the config that it's in right now. We copy all on the battery config. Great idea to have a few spares nearby, but we think it's going to last throughout the whole event.
Okay, copy all.
And Station Houston on 3 for Chris. With that out of the way, you have a go when able for your 1615 activity. 1615, that's your go for steps 3 and 4 in 2.102 Crew Dragon ISS arrival.
Okay, 1615 activity inward.
Endeavor, Houston calling on hardline for a voice check. Endeavor, Houston calling via hardline for a voice check.
Loud and clear, how was?
Hey, Endeavor, Houston, we have you loud and clear on hardline. Great news.
Well, congrats. Sounds like we got it at least somewhat sorted out.
Affirmative, concur. We think we might have found it interference between C2V2 and the hardline system, but we're going to keep it here for now and proceed down the timeline.
Never copies.
Never copies. 还可以拼，用个人能力去拼。 应答需要对你们
Houston on 3, hey, can you back me up on the PDT?
Will do, we're checking.
有些球逼着你必须打方。问题并不是出在11这些球上。
Station Houston on 2, Chris, TPDT is good, you're going to continue.
5-7，11道平让，3叫4，4乘11，篮球是7，在右上角上面的球是那现在的节目吧，不是最好的，描述是还是在我左边一个4乘11，白球吃库。这球再直一点，白球打4的左边直接去4号吃库。
This is Mission Control Houston. You're looking at the inside of the International Space Station. What you were hearing before were just some of the audio and video checks, just making sure that everything's synced up so that we get the best views and the best audio possible for when Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley come through that hatch. We're working towards the hatch opening now. You can see Chris Cassidy down the pressurized mating adapter. That hatch will open up to the international docking adapter. On the other side is the Dragon hatch. Cassidy working through those procedures after pressure equalization was complete. Now expecting around the order of 10 to 15 minutes maybe until we finally get that hatch open. So we stand by, keep those views coming from the inside of the International Space Station to welcome Bob and Doug aboard. Bob and Doug aboard.
防的你找不着什么靠谱的接球线路。熬一个5号，白球往上，下边4号、1号全都在挡你。但我还不是这么想，你要先进攻。然后白球到更好的位置，拆开这个连接球，拆开一场 CD， 当一个后半局非得解决的时候。球打直，然后打直意味着白球往上走一点，有点。叫5号停住打进攻，换一个。首先你是后死魔，另外8号球当一个后死，一个加2制路上。奥斯城是2个3库，接到14，反正也很难吧？啊，1库能往那里接吧？不好意思，所以说这边依然是白球和端过去，26这边端过去。
This is Mission Control Houston. You're looking at the live view of the inside of the International Space Station Flight Control Room. The team here, Orbit 2 team, led by Flight Director Scoville, is working through the intricate process of making sure everything is ready to open the hatch and welcome Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the International Space Station. It's been a journey so far to get to this point. More than 2 hours ago, made contact and capture with the International Space Station was the Dragon vehicle, the Crew Dragon vehicle, with Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard, 9:16 a.m. Central, 10:16 a.m. Eastern.
Voice check. How do you read me? Counter 1 to 1, 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5.
Here, and then give you go to come back on 4.
In Dragon SpaceX, you were pretty broken in that previous call.
Houston stations with ground 2. I don't hear Dragon.
I think you're being summoned by the Russian crew. In Dragon SpaceX, I was told to proceed with you. Can you please repeat your last?
Yeah, Anna, just wanted to double check with you to make sure you had copied our last and that we were still good on that estimated timer that you gave us for 30 minutes. It looks like we've got about 10 minutes left. So we'd like to pick up in section 2 of 4.400.
Checking.
现在队伍就在想怎么能让效果更好一点，更好一点。
This is Mission Control Houston. Chris Cassidy opened the hatch to the International Docking Adapter, 11:37 a.m. Central Time. Station and Dragon flying together, 267 statute miles over the South Pacific. There's a view from the camera at the forward end of Dragon.
Until Dragon hatch open, and the APAS hatch was just opened.
途经的白球还能出来交到8，算你厉害。
Again, 11:37 a.m. Central. The hatch to the International Docking Adapter was open. You see Chris Cassidy there poking his head in. That's the camera at the forward end of the Dragon. Now only one hatch separating Bob Behnken, Doug Hurley from Chris Cassidy, who you're seeing here from those Dragon views. Expected time to open that hatch is about 20 minutes from now. We'll report that time to you and expect to do a welcome ceremony at 12:15 a.m. Central Time, 1:15 p.m. Eastern. That'll welcome Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the International Space Station as part of the Expedition 63 crew. We'll get to hear some words from them and have some VIPs here in Mission Control Houston to provide words to the teams that oversaw the entire mission and the crew aboard the International Space Station.
Station Houston, we copy the hatch open, no condensation, thanks.
Dragon SpaceX on Dragon to ground, com check.
Dragon to ground, how us?
A little choppy, how me?
You are loud and clear. We'll put section 2 of 4.400 in work.
Copy all, thank you, and please give Anatoly a call on Big Loop.
手保
Okay, we'll call Anatoly on the big loop, and I'd also like to report 2 bottles of water consumed from location 9, bag 204.
Location 9, bag 204, and to confirm that was for the waste system flush.
One for the waste system.
Chris Cassidy for moving that. Removing that target from the A-pass hatch docking interface.
Dragon, comm check on the big loop for Anatoly from Endeavour.
Dragon FM, voice check. How to read me? Counting 1 to 1, 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5.
Anatoly, Endeavour has you loud and clear. How copy?
Copy system. They have me loud and clear.
Good to hear your voice.
Dragon FM, how to read me?
10号球
Loud and clear.
Okay. Sir, so turn the audio system.
花球要不要选？
And all players from Houston, that completes the comm checks. Thank you.
Okay.
轻轻地带到10就叫10。
This is Mission Control Houston. Those comm checks within the International Space Station between the Dragon crew, Chris Cassidy, and on the other side of the International Space Station, the Russian segment, Russian cosmonaut Anatoly Ivanishin completing those voice checks. You can see Cassidy continuing to outfit the hatch, just clearing the space and providing some padding and removing that docking target from the A-pass hatch.
Dragon, go ahead. Dragon to ground.
So I copy that the waste system flush is in work, and 2 more bags were consumed from location 9, bag 204, and that includes the water used for the waste system flush. Is that all correct?
有的拼吧，应该是带有点重，应该还是有的拼吧。
From bag 204, one of which Bob is in the process of consuming, and the other will be for the waste flush. That is correct.
Perfect. Thanks for clarifying. And secondly, do we have your permission to come back on board with video?
Negative. We're going to need about 2 minutes. We're just wrapping up ops here right now.
Copy. 2 more minutes. We will await your confirmation.
欧思纯，多次的解球，
Thank you.
最后赢下了一个2对6。
Still getting views from the infrared camera that's located right at the center of the Dragon hatch, looking at Chris Cassidy, International Space Station Commander, outfitting that hatch, getting ready for Bob and Doug to arrive. You were hearing communications over Dragon to ground. That was Bob Benkin and Doug Hurley on the other side of that hatch, inside the crew Dragon vehicle, finishing up their operations on the inside for that hatch opening, expected in about 10 to 15 minutes.
想要准确的、比较正的
Again, it's been a process to get to this point. Just about 2.5 hours ago, docking to the International Space Station was Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the first commercial American vehicle to dock to the International Space Station with crew aboard. Again, we're expecting about 10 to 15 minutes to open up that hatch. One more hatch separating Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley from the inside of the International Space Station. Still looking at Cassidy doing some of the prep work for that hatch. We'll get some great views that Cassidy set up over the past few hours to capture this historic moment today. Be sure to stay tuned in at 12:15 p.m. Central Time, 1:15 p.m. Eastern. We'll start a welcome ceremony, officially welcoming Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the International Space Station to join the Expedition 63 crew.
30万，第3名10万，第4名5万。
SpaceX Dragon on Dragon to ground.
Go ahead. 将进行第2场半决赛，楚炳杰对赵汝亮。
是的。
明天上午9点将进行3、4名的决赛。
Anna, you're clear to come on board.
Clear to come on board, and thanks for your patience with the comm. We are in an orientation that's creating some blockage to receive your comm on Dragon to ground.
EL 就是1号比赛的副者。
Yeah, we figured that was it. No problem. That's part of the deal.
3点钟进行上半场，在明天傍晚的6点钟将进行。
Chris Cassidy giving a wave, eagerly awaiting Bob and Doug to come aboard. Just behind him, you see Anatoly Ivanishin and Ivan Wagner, Russian cosmonauts of Expedition 63 standing by. We'll be able to come aboard Dragon here in a sec, get some views from the Crew Dragon. We're in a short handover of those communications from the International Space Station. Video and audio should be regaining them momentarily.
So far so good， 到目前为止还好，每一个球角度、距离4号同带，角度、距离，看1号，4号稍直，应该还是能往下走的。 可以，角2号，2号叫做直翼。
Anatoly Ivanishin in the foreground there. Chris Cassidy continuing the prep work for opening up the hatch there. Again, the pressurized mating adapter hatch you see there in the foreground is open. The APAS hatch to the International Docking Adapter is open. Just one more, and that's the hatch of Dragon, the Crew Dragon vehicle. The Crew Dragon vehicle.
完美角度，微微的向左下方，小低杆，靠近7号，调整角度。100种方法校对吧？
Houston Station, space to ground 2. Station is ready for Dragon hatch equalization.
Station Houston copies. Dragon call ready when you're able.
Houston Dragon, go ahead. Houston Dragon, go ahead.
And Dragon Houston, just looking to confirm that you're ready for hatch equalization.
We are ready as long as SpaceX is ready.
苏老师。
Okay, Station and Endeavour, stand by for equalization. We're putting it in work. Expected equalization time 4 minutes.
你先说谁上？哎，这样吧，说谁上，比分。
Station copies.
单数，我们是双数。
Endeavour copies.
胜者决定吃什么，败者请客。
你跟一个常年输的人怎么了？
17局带舞台。
呈现乐趣不在于吃，不在于谁请，在于过程。
那我认为他在双数，
我是单数，好事成双，出个吉利。我是单身主义，出个单。多俩少的时候，我还算了算，咱俩真是同一个病房的，关键是仨多俩少，这不废话吗？我琢磨一下，这还有这种成语啊，我得混淆你。
连时，
我就知道仨瓜俩枣。关键就是咱们附近就有那种24小时的连锁火锅，你懂我的意思吗？看我提这茬，关键是肯定得有的吃，然后你能等就行。关键是水井，而且里边应该有。
This is Mission Control Houston. We're continuing to equalize the pressure of that last hatch. Behind that hatch is Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the Crew Dragon spacecraft. We are moments away from opening the hatch and welcoming them aboard the International Space Station. The International Space Station.
赛事期间禁止任何形式的赌博行为。我记得知识册上有这句话是吧？对。
交友不慎，来了一个随便就给我上套挖坑的，
哇，这不是也跟着一起吗？
像其中咱俩也写一个歇后语，叫烙饼卷手指头，自残。
烙饼
卷手指头，
卷手指头。 的球，看你一个人球怎么样，看他有多大幅度，对，10号球第3点钟一样的，也许问题是你10个能喷进几个？你感冒的时候能不能喷进几个？困的时候能不能喷进？
而且能不能打出上一场比赛我也说了，游戏的体育不是说你努力就一定能达到什么位置，你要想打出冠军成绩，你就是有天赋。
出杆，反正这个我不能保，我不能说跟我说的不一样，一定是耍流氓。出杆，我觉得大部分是天赋，训练只占后期的一小部分。
This is Mission Control Houston. If you're just tuning in, we are standing by for confirmation of the hatch opening between the International Space Station and the Crew Dragon.
有人会说，我努力练，你努力练当然没毛病。你要不努力练，那说明你不喜欢，你没有瘾嘛，对吧？你说练球枯燥，是你不喜欢，不够喜欢，你才枯燥的。当你不有瘾，好吧，练的时候依然不长进，哎呀，你想跟自己较劲，我不反对，因为这是人类的一种进取精神。但是如果你想开心，你换个爱好。台球真是让人崩溃的概念运动。就这5号球左上角，真的。
There's the hatch to the Crew Dragon. Seeing Doug Hurley through the glass on the other side.
把球放在你这5号就1米远，就1米远，你摆成个直球，就是左上角克制你力度，咱不说赛，你就往里打。呀，这失误率相当之高，除非你要说这种球你能保了。那你能保过乔氏的第1阶段，就分站赛第1阶段，就你这个出杆能力啊，已经能够做到这个。
And there's Bob Inkin.
有的打，像这种球，哇，小号点球吧，对，是吧？看一眼，没有摔带线路。看一眼，下球点。回来擦擦汗，确认一下下。对。
Still equalizing that pressure between Crew Dragon and International Space Station, just moments away.
你要保你。
犯规。
不知道是不是故意的啊？一个皮的加5号球。
Dragon Space Specs on Big Loop. You are go for hatch opening per the decal, followed by the remaining actions in your procedure 4.400.
Dragon copies. Go for hatch opening and remaining steps in 4.400.
然后剩下那3颗不太好接。如果 K 成这个效果，那说明真的是非常厉害。就他第一杆摆1，叫到2的角度， 那个角度要给一个保护。别人认为对的题，有道理。我现在就想打3，不行吗？我就推1顾叫6，不行吗？我现在就想打6，拉过去，不行。行啊。
And with that, the hatch is open. 12:02 p.m. Central Time, 1:02 p.m. Eastern. Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley opened the hatch to the International Space Station after launching from American soil on a U.S. vehicle for the first time in 9 years. The first time ever for a commercially built spacecraft.
选择自己的球，还是选择实战项目？对。
它正是澳洲天鹅庄万肖家系列葡萄酒。
If you're just tuning in, the hatches are open between Dragon and the International Space Station. International Space Station Commander Chris Cassidy now talking with Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken aboard the Crew Dragon spacecraft. That hatch opened at 12:02 p.m. Central, 1:02 p.m. Eastern.
SpaceX Dragon on the big list. The hatch is open in 5.5, 4.400. How copy?
I copy. Hatch is open. Great to hear. Thanks. Great to hear. Thanks.
第5名呢，奖金是3万元啊，第7名奖金是2万5。
And SpaceX Dragon in 5.9, we're going to exit out of 4.400 and transition to 2.102 Crew Dragon ISS arrival through the hatch opening.
I copy. With that, I understand you are complete with 4.400 and will follow along with you as you transition to the ISS procedure.
我要有意义的婚礼，我要来秦皇岛。我是不是要把这个推子先拉下去？你先乐一下啊！
要有一个骨灰级的爱好。
这个骨灰级的爱好，这话我听懂了。
就是为之发狂啊，甚至于怎么讲纠结、痛苦等等，反正各种情绪都在这里边。这个爱好，
对，就是你所说的迷，
对迷，真的迷他啊。
有的人要的是成功，我刚才也说了， 你要是想心情好，你只要打不好，你就远离这个东西。
是这样。
This is Mission Control Houston. The crew of Demo 2 just performing a few closeout duties. The hatches are open. They were open 12:02 p.m. Central Time. We're moments away from the Dragon crew aboard Demo 2 to enter the International Space Station. It'll be the first time that Americans will enter the International Space Station on a rocket launched from U.S. soil, built by an American company. The first time ever Americans will enter from a commercially built spacecraft.
一个是唱歌，你知道吗？哥们儿乐理不算差吧？啊，我唱的歌啊算唱啊，你这个你不用安慰我。就是我找不着那个音准，我知道我没有唱准音，可是我一下找不准。那与之相对应的摄像，我也不知道，没有什么理论，我也没上过课班，但是那个就把画面唰推上去那一下，应该是什么样的，我心里边有个底，没有任何大道理，那个地方就对。啊，这就是有天就没天赋和有天赋的区别。啊，另外一对就是飞行和。这个就模拟飞行和台球，一个玩了1年，我就玩的比那个台球玩了20多年了，还有不知道好哪。
Station Houston on Space Ground 2 for Chris. When you're able, we're just looking for a quick voice check on the mic.
这就是一种绝望。后来呢，就当然了，还没到这个后来，我就放弃了。你千万不能做这样的事，放过自己。所谓的心理学上讲，放过自己。
Station Space Ground 2, go ahead.